the
I
Dragon.
want to talk about something good for the next 45 minutes. House of the Dragon was really good.
First of all, I gotta say, I like the new intro credits. I freaking dig it.
Yeah, with like everything like being woven through the tapestries.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And in the books, from what I understand, the tapestries are actually very important.
I never read them, so I wouldn't know.
They allude to the tapestries a lot in the shows. Like you'll hear them mention tapestries in Game of Thrones, and then in House of the Dragon season 1, when Daemon, returns and from the Stepstones, and Alicent's like, Lord Daemon, would you like to come and see the new tapestries in the Great Hall or whatever? And Viserys looks at his brother and he goes, "Yeah, Daemon, you want to go look at the tapestries?" Like making fun of it because like no one gives a shit. But I did like that they did it that way. And again, man, the amount of suspense and writing you can do in a scene where someone's talking, and then you have the acolyte. It's like the perfect juxtaposition, dude. Like one show that's mostly dialogue is so interesting, and then another show that's a lot of wide shots and barely any fucking dialogue. But when there is dialogue, it sucks.
You know why? Because the people that write the House of the Dragon know how to make it gripping. Like they don't need a whole lot of action.
Exactly.
Because 1, the actors are good. 2, the writing's good. 3, the cinematography is like next level. So like you don't. That's kind of the thing. Disney's getting beaten out by maps here, and it's like not even close. It is not even close. It's not. It's really not.
Yeah, it's just it's bad, guys.
But
one of the things that you have to say is Lee Jung-jae, who plays Master Soul, didn't even fully learn English, apparently.
Huh.
Like, he only learned his lines, for the most part, and what they mean. So for a guy who literally barely knows English to be the best thing in this show, just gotta say that.
Now, this might be jumping a little bit too far into it, but my favorite shot of the whole episode was that shot of Winterfell. Glorious shot.
That's a great way to start the episode. And now, I think that's Cregan Stark, right? And just seeing him having ice on his back, like the sword that Eddard Stark would later hold as well. It's just freaking cool. Being at the wall again, and just Cerys, like being up there and having a conversation with him. So they mentioned like the dragons won't pass the wall. So you can assume that like the conversation they had where Cregan Stark says what lies beyond the wall is death.
Yep.
You'd assume that they know of the White Walkers, and maybe Jacaerys is told about them. But then Jacaerys gets the letter that his brother Luke is dead. His little brother Lucerys. And throughout this episode, you see Alicent, who feels bad for it. So she, lights a candle for Lucerys. And meanwhile, I want to know what happened when Aemon returned.
Can I just say, because you mentioned Alicent, so in season 1, especially with like the episodes that I like watched at your house, but I went and I rewatched everything before this episode. But now that I don't know if it's different in the book because I never read them, but I don't know. I kind of feel like Alicent doesn't really want this conflict as much as I thought that she did.
No, she doesn't. I muted you. television.
I feel like she really doesn't want this war. It's all of the people around her that like want this war, not her. Which, like, because the reason that I say that, Roland, is because like I didn't like her at first. I thought that this whole thing was like her fault.
Well, it's not her fault.
Yeah, but she's not the sole cause of what's happening here. I feel like she's a she's a part of it, but I don't know. I just wanted to say that. So, what is?
I just want to go a little bit into the episode here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we see Winterfell, which was just nice being in the courtyard of Winterfell again.
Yeah.
Seeing Jacaerys talk to the Starks. That was really cool. Just that whole conversation. And then the conversation between Rhaenys when she lands and Daemon was really good. Where Daemon's like, no, you'll fly with me. We're going to King's Landing to kill Vhagar. Because that's the thing. Like, killing that dragon tilts the entire scale of the war. And she's like, no, well, Meleys, her dragon, she's like, Meleys needs to rest and eat. Meanwhile, Daemon's like, I'm hopping on Caraxes, you're hopping on Meleys. Let's go freaking kill Vhagar. And Daemon. And Aemon. Yes. And she's like, no, he needs rest and I need rest. And then Daemon has that line where he's like, well, you could have ended this war when you left. You could have killed all of them. Because she could have, but she didn't.
It's a good point.
And then she kind of won back. I forget what she said, but she kind of like bounced back at him. And it's like, oh, fuck, well, she's right. But then they talk about, then we go to, not Valeria, but we go to I forget where they're at. It's not in the Stepstones. I forget the name of the city that Lord Corlys is at. Corlys Valerian.
Isn't he in Dragonstone, or am I dumb?
No, he's not in Dragonstone yet. Corlys is still back at his home.
Right.
And, you have like Corlys talking about how he needs his ship rebuilt ASAP.
Right.
And he's talking to this guy named Alan, and apparently Alan becomes very important at some point. But Alan's the one who saved him. And I think what I heard is that in the book, there is it's not proven, but it's a question of whether or not Alan is the bastard son of Corlys. And Corlys may or may not know that himself. Which could be interesting.
That is interesting.
But okay. Alan has a brother who we haven't met yet. But they do mention his brother.
Okay.
Alan the shipwright, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
And then we have that conversation, and you can see that Lord Corlys, when Alan hands him the dagger, and it's the dagger that was made for Lucerys. And you can see Alan says, I'm very sorry to hear about your heir's death. Because think about it. Lucerys is a bastard between the strong, I forget his first name, the strong guy, like his last name, like freaking what's his name? Larys's brother.
Yeah.
So him and Rhaenyra. So he's not related to Lord Corlys whatsoever. However, Lord Corlys still loved him as a grandson. He still named him heir. Driftmark. To Driftmark. That's where they're at.
Driftmark.
Yeah. So now he carries the dagger that he made for his grandson. And you can see in his face that he's just, he himself is really fucked up over it. Which I thought was really good. Just that little interaction. And then we cut to Eric or Arik the two twins, Arik and Eric. Like, come on, bro. These names, Jesus Christ. But they're
What
on
was
the walls of the Red Keep. They're on the walls of the Red Keep, and Vagar's
yeah.
flying over, and you can see they got scorpions down there, like the big ballistas. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Wait, it's Vagar! Don't shoot it down." So they must, like, no matter what, that, like, until they can identify the dragon, they have to be ready.
What does the dragon identify as, if you don't mind me asking?
Vagar is a female.
I was being a smart ass, Roland.
Well, it's true though.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Or the old bitch. And then that's the first time we see Allison. She's getting eaten out by Kristen Cole. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, it makes sense, but it's so weird. She's like, we can't do this again. But you know they're going to do it again.
Because right? It's Game of... Okay, no. It's not Game of Thrones, but it's like Game of Thrones-esque. So yes. Yes. Of course they are. I'm not stupid.
Well, and we get the sense that they've done this many times before.
Yeah, of course.
And then Kristen Cole's like, I need you to put my cloak on so I look good for the council meeting. And she does. So, like, both of which are breaking their oaths, right? Because she has an oath. She shouldn't be with any other person now because she had an oath to Viserys. And he has an oath of abstinence to being one of the Knights or the King Guard.
This is where I go back and forth with her because part of me likes Allison as a character, but then there's parts of me that's like, bro, I hate her so much. Like,
so then we have that one scene where Aegon is actually being a good dad.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, Viserys didn't even give a shit about Aegon or what he did. So you can see that when he walks into his sister and his wife at the same time, like his sister wife, Helena, you see that Helena has, like, she's sewing and she's like, I'm scared. And he goes, of what? We have dragons. Like, no one can attack us here. Because he comes in and he's like, where's my son? Like, Helena, please tell me where my son is. I want him to attend the small council with me. She's like, he's in the library doing his studies. He's like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get him. And then Helena says, I'm scared. And he's like, why are you scared? It's nothing to be afraid of. And she goes, of the rats. And then he's like, everybody in the room kind of looks at each other. Like, yeah, she's weird. And then,
nope.
Yeah, and then she's like, or Aegon's like, the queen is an enduring mystery, isn't she? You know, Aegon leaves. He grabs his son. He brings his son to the small council. And you can tell he's just happy that his son's there, as his son's just being a little kid. And it was funny how he keeps fucking with Lannister.
Yeah.
Not Jason Lannister. It's the other one. Tywin Lannister.
I forgot what his... Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what his name was. Yeah.
And it's just funny they keep fucking with the little ball. He's like, that's my ball. Like, you know, he's like, I need it. And Aegon, like, gets kind of... I thought he was going to go a little bit, like, Joffrey level there for a second. When he's like, maybe you can give him a pony ride around the room. Like, would you like that, Jaceres, if he's a pony? And Tywin's like, fuck, I'm really going to have to do this shit. And I think it's Allison that's like, yeah, we have more important shit to talk about. And Otto's there, too. Otto's great. And then Aemond walks in. And you get this scene where everybody's deliberating on what to do about the dragons. And Aegon's kind of actually doing his best there to be a king in a way and make the right decision. Yeah. He's listening to Otto. He's listening to...
He's trying.
Yeah, he's listening to the members of the room, and then Aemon comes in and explains everything that just kind of went down. Says how, and they're like, Aemon, you're not even supposed to be here. And Aegon's like, he's my brother and my closest blood. He will be here. And then we get a scene when they're coming out with Lara Strong. And you can see how Lara Strong is playing both sides. Right now, he's trying to get the king in his pocket. Right? He walks the king out onto that balcony and is explaining how, like, your family's kind of stupid, bro. You're the king. Like, make your own decisions. But then he also talks to Alicent a little bit after that. And he's like, yeah, all the lords and all the dissenters have been taken care of. She's like, what do you mean? Like, I don't want anybody dead. And he's like, well, they're dead. They've been taken care of. And I've personally picked your handmaidens and your servants myself. Isn't that what you wanted? Type of thing. So then they have their little conversation. And then we go to that scene where Alicent is in the bath. And then she gets a little bit like annoyed. She's like, everybody leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts like scrubbing her arm. And this to me is like a mirror image of when she used to pick her nails all the time. Because she just starts scrubbing the same spot like crazy.
I didn't think of it in that way.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it in that way.
So
now that you say that, yeah.
She's still sneaky. Right?
Huh. Yeah.
And then we get the shot of like Rhaenyra and Syrax up on the mountain looking down at the beach. We see these guys like pulling out parts of a dragon from the beach. She flies in, jumps off, runs over to it, finds her son's cloak and in the dragon's wing.
Yep.
Now what's really cool when she starts to cry is that Syrax comes over to her, and Syrax also lets out like a low-pitched roar, like almost like the dragon feels her pain. But the interesting thing is, Lucerys' dragon was hatched from Syrax's egg.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So they're both two mothers mourning the loss of their children.
Oh my god!
At the same time, Rhaenyra and Syrax.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Pretty fucking cool.
That's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking.
And still, Rhaenyra has one line in this entire episode.
Yeah.
And it's good. So.
Wow. That's crazy, yo. That's crazy.
She knows for sure that, Lucerys is dead. Now, continuing on, we have Aegon trying to be a good king again. We get that scene where he's like, hey, like this guy, we took too many of his sheep to feed the dragons. We'll make sure you get most of your flock back. Goats, actually. And then you have Otto walk up to him and like, we can't afford that. Tell him to leave. And then other people are walking up to him. And Aegon's he wants to be liked, right? He wants to be liked by the people. He wants to be a good king like Viserys was.
Yep.
And then we have I forget the Smith's name, but apparently he also becomes important. But someone, the Smith, right, comes up. He's like, sir, we love making more weapons and armor for your grace, but we need help. Like, we can't. We're all struggling. All of the Smiths are struggling.
Isn't his name Hugh?
Hugh the Smith.
Hugh, right?
Yeah, Hugh the Smith.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, and then Otto's about to walk up to him again, and he goes, no, they'll have it. You'll have all the steel and all the armor you can get. Or all the steel and materials you can get. And Hugh thanks him and then leaves.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty good. Because you can see Aegon actually trying.
So Hugh becomes important later, huh?
From what I heard.
is this all in the book and we just gotta see it play out?
Yes. Oh, that's when
Oh,
we get
okay.
the conversation between Laris and him. And then we have this conversation between Allison and Otto. And Allison is saying how, like, if you keep doing that, if you keep telling my sons what to do, they're never going to listen to their mother ever again.
Yep.
And Otto's like, I'm trying to be an ally here. And she actually says a line, ally that repeatedly continues to cut my legs.
Yeah.
Because Otto is a sneaky little slimy son of a bitch. He just wants more and more power this entire time. He used his daughter, now he's using his grandchildren. And then we get the White Worm showing up to Dragonstone, the chick who runs all the brothels and stuff. With speaking to Damon. Damon said, I want her treated like a prisoner. He gets that little conversation with Eric. And he goes, well, you and your traitorous brother. And he's like, listen, we both swore oaths to protect the royal family.
Right.
He's protecting one half of the royal family, and I'm protecting your half. We're both holding our oaths. But they just still had to choose sides. You know that's going to come down to the point where one brother's going to have to fight the other brother at some point. The twins.
I think that was in the. I think that's in the season 2 trailer. I think, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. They show them fighting each other.
We can go over that real quick, and then Rhaenyra returns. Damon goes, "Did you find what you need?" She walks to the edge of the table, and everyone's trying to tell her what to do for the war, and she just goes, I want Aemon Targaryen.
I'm sorry, but just want to say Matt Smith's presence, no matter what, is just
good.
He's just so good as Damon, bro. He's just so good as Damon.
And all throughout this episode, in the Red Keep, you're seeing the rat catcher like walk around with his little dog. And then we get the scene where Jacaerys returns, and I thought this was the best scene in the episode. Jacaerys walks into his mother in her room, Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's sitting there, and he's reporting. He's like, yeah, the lady of Lady Aaron will pledge her troops to us. She just needs a dragon for protection. I told her we could provide that. The Starks will send, 500 men? Something like that.
I think that was
500 old men. But apparently these old men are freaking Viking like level, like badass. Like just warriors. Full on just warriors. And he starts to break down, like you hear his voice crack, and he starts start crying. Because he's trying to be a good. He would be such a good heir too, Jacaerys. But the problem is Jacaerys is a bastard.
Yeah.
He technically is Rhaenyra's heir. But he wants to be a good person too. And then you just have Rhaenyra get up, and they don't even have to say anything. Like, Lucerys is dead, and this is a family that loves their family and mourns. Whereas the Greens, none of them really seem to care much about each other.
Yeah, they really don't.
But the thing about the Blacks is there's love there. That's a family mourning the loss of a child and a brother and a grandson. Like, they all love one another.
I think that's why everyone's on team. I think that's why Team Black's like, the universal one that people like. But do you by chance did you ever read the book? How long does this war last for?
I don't remember. I know I did not read it. I'm
Okay.
actually what I really like that Neurotic and Ryan and Mahler do after the show is they do a juxtaposition of what happened in that chapter.
Oh, okay.
So whatever happens in this episode, they'll give you the difference between that and the book.
Huh. Interesting.
So we also get the scene of Damon talking to the White Worm again, and he says, "Hey, like, get me
He's
into
trying
King's
to get, like, information out of her, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, get me into King's Landing."
Yeah.
She goes,
Yep.
"Well, there's a couple guards that still are loyal to you. They have no love for the king or queen." And so he goes there.
Also, did you peep that there was a fleeting moment where Damon might have tried to rekindle their, relationship?
Maybe.
Kind of in like a slimy way. Like,
well, and then we get, which I really like, is the funeral scene where they're burning the cloak of Lucerys. Which I didn't know this, but somebody picked it up. I forget who said it on the internet somewhere, but somebody picked it up. When Vhagar comes up and kills Lucerys' dragon,
yeah.
you actually see a wing and a cloak fall in season 1.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so they set that up.
I didn't even notice that.
That's pretty cool. So
that is cool.
The attention to detail compared to the Acolyte, where they have to bring boxes out of a ship, walk 100 meters away from the ship just to fill up bags. Like, so stupid. But this is when Alicent lights the candles. And then we cut back to King's Landing, where we have Damon like showing up. And he walks up to the guard. The guard's like, "Lord Damon, I'm still loyal to you." He's like, "All right, here's some coin. Find me that rat catcher." So they find the rat catcher. And the rat catcher's like, "Yeah, I know these wolves. I know everything about this better than I own my own cock." He's like, "All right, well, you're going to get us in. Yep. You will do nothing else. A son for a son. You will do nothing else but kill Aemon Targaryen. Nothing else." So then it cuts to the scene with Kristen Cole and Aemon hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're homies, which I think is also kind of funny because Kristen Cole's banging Aemon's mom like on the left, on the side, like all the time. He's hanging out with Aemon, and they're chilling. They're having their conversation. They're having their conversation about how the war should go.
Yeah.
And actual tacticians and what needs to happen here. And they talk about how Harrenhal, like they need to take Harrenhal. And then Otto comes in and tells Kristen Cole to go back to his duties. And then we got the rat catcher and the guard, Blood and Cheese, going in with the little dog. They're sneaking through. And he's like, "I don't know the upstairs." He kicks the dog and tells the dog to get out of here. He's like, "I don't know the upstairs. No one else is supposed to be up there." He goes, "Well, you're taking me up there. Son for a son. Damon, you promised Lord Damon we're going up there. We're going to kill Aemon Targaryen." So they go right into Aemon's room, and no one's there. And then Blood is like, "Yo, set up some traps. Make it look like we're actually doing this. Now we're going to go room to room until we find him." And as Blood's setting it up, he bumps into like a handmaiden. Now in the book, he kills the handmaiden.
Oh.
But in here, he lets her go. And he sets up he goes for the rats. He sets up some more traps.
Right.
And then he hears like a struggle from down the hallway. So he runs in. And Cheese has Helena by the throat with a knife. The queen. And he's like, they're going through the deliberation of which one's the son. They can't find Aemon, so they figured, screw it, we'll kill Jacaerys, the little boy, the 5-year-old or 4-year-old instead. Mm-hmm. But the kids are so young that the daughter and the son look exactly the same. So he's like, She tries to offer her necklace. She tries to offer money. He's like, nope, that's not what we're here for. We're here for a son. Give us a son. So she does. She points directly at Jacaerys, and then she runs away. She grabs her daughter and she books it. And as she's booking it, you hear the kid scream, and you actually hear them cutting through flesh and bone, like they're cutting the head off the son. And she's running down the hallway, freaking out with her daughter.
Was Game of Thrones ever that brutal? I don't recall it ever being
They
like
burnt
that.
a little girl to death, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. True.
she runs in to her mother's room, and her mother's fucking Kristen Cole. So in her daughter's like biggest time of need, and Kristen Cole's probably supposed to be guarding, but he's not. He's fucking Allison. And Helena's freaking out. She sits down. She doesn't care what's going on. And they're like, Helena, what's wrong? And she's like, the boy's dead. End of episode.
Great freaking episode. Great.
So
great episode.
The difference in the book is that they do have a daughter, but when Blood and Cheese show up, Helena is with Jacaerys and Maelor, right, the younger brother, Maelor.
Ah.
And they say, son for son, choose one. Choose between one of your sons. And both sons are awake.
Okay.
And she chooses the younger one, Maelor.
Hmm.
So what they do is they kill the older one. And they go, you hear that, boy? Your mommy wants you dead. And then they leave. So Maelor is left with the rest of his life knowing that his mother chose him to be killed. And Helena starts to go even more insane. So they actually kill the older one in front of the younger one and Helena after she chose the younger one to be killed.
Wow.
Which I think would have been a better scene.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah,
like,
actually it would have been.
They changed it up, but I think that would have been a better scene because of the... Now, we don't know that Maelor's not in this. Like, I think there is a baby that's shown at some point. But it's just like, that psychological attack as well as a physical one is like wild. Wild to me. I think that would have been so much better. And like, they're not supposed, like, obviously they didn't show it, right? They don't show it, but in the book, what happens is Blood just pulls a sword out and just lops his head off.
Yeah.
Now, you don't even have to show that. You could just have a little bit of blood splatter on Helena's face. You could have a shadow of like a head going. You do something like that. But it's still crazy. It's absolutely like, it's a wild scene. It's a shocking scene, but I think the way it was done in the book is even more shocking because then you have the aftermath of it. It's not just like a son got murdered. It's a son got murdered. The mother had to choose between two sons. The one she chose didn't get killed, and the one that she didn't choose did get killed. Like, so she starts going crazier than she is, and Maelor has the rest of his life knowing that his mother chose him to be dead.
In fairness, I haven't seen Acolyte, but instantly this blows it right out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
There's not even any sort of a competition.
Episode 2 tonight, baby, 9:00.
Oh, I'll watch it while I'm counting the